Hello, whisperers. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy tonight's tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps more than you know. Now, dim the lights, and let's begin tonight's story. I've worked night shifts at North Point Maximum for 12 years. I've seen guys stabbed with shanks made from toothbrushes. I've had piss thrown at me. I've been in the middle of riots where the air tasted like pepper spray and burnt hair. I thought I'd seen every kind of violence a human being could dish out. But that night was different. The place already felt off when I clocked in. Winter storm rolling in, snow coming down in that sideways way that means the wind's just gonna get worse. The whole prison felt tight, like it knew something I didn't. Officer Kane was at the desk, flipping through incident reports. "Evening, old man," he said without looking up. "Fuck off," I told him, hanging my coat. "What's the count?" "2 fights in C block. Lawson's been spitting at the cameras again in solitary. And the kitchen's missing a pallet of beef." "Beef?" He smirked. "Don't worry, they're probably chewing on it raw in there." Warden Harris came by for the usual pre-shift reminder. Keep the blocks calm, no shortcuts. Write everything down. The guy could make a hurricane sound boring. I signed my post assignment and headed for the tiers. Halfway through my first walk in C block, I heard it. A noise that didn't belong. Not yelling, not fighting. Wet. Like meat being pulled apart. I followed it down the range and found Officer Perez slumped against a cell door. His vest was shredded, not cut, ripped, and his face. Jesus Christ. One side was gone. His jaw just wasn't there anymore. I keyed my radio. "Medical to C block. We've got a..." Static, not even a squawk back. I looked at the cell. The inmate inside, a wiry guy named Millard, was crouched in the corner. His mouth was covered in blood, but his eyes, they weren't right. They were too bright, almost gold. He didn't even flinch when I banged the door. Then, in the corner of my eye, I saw movement. Something big bolted past the end of the tier, too fast for me to catch detail, just a blur of pale skin and muscle. Harris's voice finally came over the PA, sharp and clipped. "All units, full lockdown. Repeat, full lockdown." Sirens started wailing, gates slamming shut. The backup generators kicked in as the main lights died, and every block dropped into that dim, flickering glow that makes your skin crawl. I started moving toward the security doors when I heard it for the first time. A long, deep howl rolling through the vents, vibrating in my chest. Kane's voice crackled through the handheld. "You hearing that?" "Yeah," I said. "And I don't wanna." I was rerouted to check D block before sealing it. When I got there, I passed solitary and stopped. Cell 12, Red Lawson's cell, was dark except for the strip of moonlight cutting across the floor from the narrow window. He was standing in it. His breathing was wrong, too heavy. I could hear bones popping, tendons snapping. His hands were gripping the bars so tight I could hear the metal creak. His shoulders swelled, neck thickening, teeth lengthening in his mouth like they were pushing his lips apart. Then the control panel outside his cell sparked and popped. the door lock buzzing weakly. He turned his head toward me, slow, like it hurt to move, and when his eyes caught mine, they weren't Lawson's eyes anymore. They glowed, bright and animal, and a low growl slid up from his chest. Ah, fuck. The lock gave a final click. The lock released with that ugly metal clunk, and before I could even reach for my cuffs or radio, the door swung open. Lawson stepped out, or whatever the fuck Lawson had become. He was still mid-change, his legs bowing and cracking as his frame stretched, skin split in places, fur pushing through. His mouth was a mess of teeth that didn't fit right yet, gums bleeding around them. I raised my baton out of instinct. That was a mistake. He hit me like a goddamn truck, and the baton clattered away. I hit the wall hard enough to see stars. If he'd finished changing, I wouldn't have gotten back up. But whatever this halfway stage was, it gave me a second, just enough to slam the door of the next cell between us and put steel between his claws and my face. I sprinted for the end of the tier, boots slipping on the concrete. Behind me, his growl went full roar, and I heard the bars screech as he bent them back like they were wire. By the time I got through the secure door, the prison was already tearing itself apart. The PA was blasting Harris's voice over and over. Lockdown, all gates sealed, all gates sealed. The sound was swallowed by screaming and howling. I ran into Kane on the main floor of D Block. He had his shotgun out, knuckles white. "What the fuck is going on?" I barked. "You tell me. Perez is dead, Millard's gone, and it's not just them." Like on cue, 2 inmates came barreling out of the showers. They weren't running from us. They were running at us. Mid-sprint, their faces warped, jaws snapping forward, eyes catching the moonlight spilling through the high windows. "Shoot them," I yelled. Kane's first blast took the front one in the chest. He dropped, then lurched back up with a hole big enough to shove a fist through. The second shot took him in the head and painted the wall red. The other one hit me before I could aim, claws tearing across my vest. We went down in a tangle, his spit hot on my neck, breath reeking like raw meat left in the sun. I jammed my forearm under his throat, drew my sidearm with the other hand, and put 2 rounds through his temple. He went still, heavy as hell. Kane reloaded fast and sloppy. "We've got to move. Harris wants all surviving staff in the admin wing." I nodded, but the howls were getting closer. We cut across the mess hall, and it was a slaughterhouse. Blood everywhere. Tables flipped, trays scattered. An inmate, or what was left of him, was dangling from the ceiling by his ankle, ribs picked clean. 2 more of them were crouched over a fresh kill, faces buried in it. Kane fired, the boom echoing off the tile. One of the wolves went down. The other leapt up onto the wall, claws digging in, running sideways along the brick before launching at us. It caught Kane, knocked him flat. I grabbed a steel tray from the floor and slammed it over the thing's head, again and again until it stopped moving. We made it to the yard door and froze. The blizzard outside had cleared just enough for the moon to burn through, full and bright, and in that silver light, the yard was full of them, dozens, some on 2 legs, some on 4, all pacing, fighting each other. climbing the fences, even with the razor wire cutting into them. Every floodlight snapped on at once. For a second, I thought maybe backup had arrived. Then my radio hissed, and a voice I didn't know came through, calm and cold. Containment protocol is already in effect. No one leaves. That voice on the radio froze me harder than the cold air spilling in from the yard. Kane just stared at me, breathing hard, shotgun shaking in his hands. "What the fuck does that mean?" he asked. "It means we're screwed," I said, slamming the yard door shut and throwing the bolt. "Armory. Now." We moved fast, cutting through service corridors that reeked of bleach and blood. Every step echoed too loud. Somewhere above us, claws scraped steel. Something was following along the vents. We rounded a corner into B block and stopped dead. The whole tier was crawling, half a dozen werewolves tearing into bodies, some of them still twitching. One of the things was pulling an inmate's spine out like it was gutting a fish. They saw us. "Go," I barked, and we sprinted. One dropped from the top tier, landing between us and the far door. Kane didn't hesitate. He fired the blast, catching it in the neck and showering us in black-red spray. The damn thing still lunged, and Kane jammed the barrel under its jaw before firing again. We made it into the armory, and I slammed the heavy door behind us. Inside, rifles, shotguns, ammo stacked in battered crates. My hand shook as I loaded mags. Kane tossed me a pump action and grabbed a vest. Then the pounding started, heavy, rhythmic. The steel door buckled inward. "They're gonna rip it off the hinges," Kane said. "Then we make it hurt to come through," I told him. The door tore open like it was paper. The first wolf through caught 3 slugs in the chest and kept coming until the fourth took its head clean off. Another dove through the gap, claws catching Kane across the ribs. He screamed, firing blind into its side until it crumpled. We fought our way out, down toward the control room, our last fallback. The hallways were choked with bodies, steam rising from blood pooling on the cold floor. My boots slipped more than once, and every time I thought I was going down for good. In the control room, we had a view of the main block. From up here, it looked like hell. Wolves leaping between tiers, dragging inmates and guards into the dark corners. One smashed against the reinforced glass, claws scraping, yellow eyes locked on me. Kane's breathing was wet, ragged. Blood soaked his uniform. "We're not making it out, are we?" I didn't answer. Something hit the rear door so hard the frame cracked. The window shattered in a spiderweb pattern. Dozens of glowing eyes peered in. I spotted movement on the monitors. Solitary. Lawson, fully changed now, bigger than the rest, was ripping through the last locked doors. That's when it clicked. He wasn't here by accident. Someone put him in this prison right before the full moon, knowing exactly what would happen. The rear door gave way. Kane went down in a tangle of fur and teeth, screaming until his voice was swallowed in a wet crunch. I emptied my rifle into the mass coming through, each shot flashing light across matted fur and snapping jaws. When the mag clicked empty, I drew my sidearm and kept firing until the slide locked back. Glass behind me shattered. Claws hooked my shoulder, yanking me into the air. My last thought before the teeth closed in was that voice on the radio, calm, almost bored. No one leaves.